10 students who have joined, or
Yeah,
do we wait
perfect.
for 2 more minutes?
Yeah, let's just wait for 2 more minutes. So,
Yeah, yeah, let them join. Yeah.
yeah, while we are waiting, so we are from One Click Prep, and we are, me and Shujoy, we are the directors of the company. I'll give you a brief background when we start the session, but essentially, we have a program where we help school students work out what is the best career for them, and then help them articulate their career goals, build up their profile, and establish for themselves a career that makes sense for them. So we'll probably just wait for another 30 seconds because it's already 5 minutes past, and then we will get started with this. As Shujoy mentioned, if you all could just keep your um, mics on mute. There's a chat window. Please feel free to write down any questions that you have for us, and we'll try and address as many of them as possible. We will be recording our session, so we have, on our chat window, and we'll be sharing our contact details with you, with all of you. Please feel free to contact us at any point if you have any further questions. If not, you can view our recording again and share it with your friends. And we are always ready for to answer any specific career related questions, or any specific questions about how do you build your profile, what's a good option, should I study in India, should I study abroad. So we'll try and cover some of those. Now we have a pretty tight timeline, so we'll try and get through as many of these as possible over the next 45-50 minutes, and that'll leave the last 5 minutes off for questions. So if you could just keep all of yourselves on mute. If you can't hear me, please send me a chat, and we'll get started from there. All righty. So this is, as Shujoy mentioned, this is a session about career options for students who are studying physics, chemistry, and mathematics. So essentially, what we are trying to cover through this session is what happens if you have physics, chemistry, maths. What sort of career opportunities exist for you? So 10 years, 15 years, 20 years back, there used to be the only career opportunity you had was predominantly in engineering, medicine. There were other career opportunities, but they were not as relevant. Over the last 10, 15 years, a lot has changed. And as a result of that, you'll see as we go through the slide deck, there are many different ways in which you can build a really successful career through this. So without spending too much time, let's get started. The first section we want to talk about would be around the different career options that you can have within India. So, and then we'll talk about career opportunities outside India. So if you have a physics, chemistry, math background, then from there, the obvious opportunities that you have would be getting a Bachelor of Science degree, whether that's in physics or chemistry. You can also join the Navy in various forms, Air Force, Army, Merchant Navy, extending into pharmacy, architecture. You could also get a BSc in math and stat as a combination, which is becoming more and more relevant. And then if you want to stay within computers as a main career choice, then within computers, you can either do a Bachelor of Science degree or a BCA, or you can also have a BSc in IT. Within engineering, there's all the various courses of engineering, starting from aeronautics, agriculture, robotics, all the way to civil, chemical, IT, electronics, communications. So as you can see, most of us initially would have thought that having a career in physics, chemistry, maths, you're probably stuck with a career in computers or career in engineering. But as you can see, there's also careers that you can pursue within just pure physics or pure chemistry, or as an extension of them, where you do a career in math and stat. So we will be running these kind of sessions, and the next one that we will be running would be around career options purely from a math perspective. So someone who's really keen on math, what are the different career opportunities? But this one, we're keeping it fairly broad and going for physics, chemistry, and math. And we'll also try and talk about some of the unusual career opportunities that exist. Like what are the other options that you have? So if you if you think about a career opportunity in architecture, there's a lot of things that are happening within the world right now, right? So there's urban planning, there's urban design, sustainable architecture, there's smart city design, um, industrial design. So there's a lot of design related courses that are becoming relevant as the world becomes more integrated together, using concepts of design, engineering, technology. And as a result of that, you're having a lot more options within architecture. Some really top schools and colleges for architecture, your usual suspects, the IITs, the NITs, and then there's the CEPT, which is a really good school, and then NIT Calicut has a Department of Architecture, which is very well renowned. Now, all of these schools have different admission requirements. Most of them would have a test in addition to your year 12 marks, but it's good to know what are the top schools when you are considering a career in architecture. It's a very lucrative career, and to be honest, it's seen a significant growth, probably more growth than what most of us would think. A lot of people still link architecture to be a fairly old school way of career, but it is not anymore. Architecture is becoming really, really important as more and more cities are trying to plan how do we optimize energy, how do we become more green city, how do we reduce pollution, how do we control population, and all of these problems can be solved in a career, having a career in architecture. You can earn anywhere up to 5 lakhs per annum, which is, a 1 to 2 year after your graduation. And then obviously it increases with your experience. If you do have any questions about anything that you see on the slides, particularly if there's someone who says, I'm really keen on a career in architecture, please feel free to note that down. And at the end of the session, we will be covering them in more detail. Career in physics, a pure physics or a physics major, then there are many career opportunities that exist as a result of that. Working in defense, aerospace, you can work in healthcare, you can work in high energy physics, so more like a research organization or within a research department of a university. Data science, I'm sure you've heard of that. That's becoming really prominent as well. So either you go for research or you go for teaching, or you can go for a corporate job. All of these are really very, very lucrative opportunities. A career opportunity in chemistry. There's also a lot of fields in chemistry that you can explore. So there's analytical chemistry, there's organic chemistry. Now, some of these words may not really mean a lot to you right now, but this is to give you an option to think broader than what you can actually do just with a pure physics, chemistry, maths. So if you're really enjoying chemistry, then just because you think that you will not have a good career in chemistry, you give that up. We are here to tell you that, no, don't do that. There's a lot of really good career opportunities in chemistry. Some of the top colleges for chemistry, St. Stephen's College is a really strong college. Loyola, Hansraj, St. Xavier's College in Mumbai, St. Joseph's College in Bangalore, Christ University in Bangalore. Salary ranges around 20,000, 40,000 per month. You can also, again, get into research. You can get into careers that mix chemistry with economics, chemistry with social sciences, chemistry with IT. There are many combinations of these careers that you can get in which require you to have a career in chemistry. So I know a lot of you probably enjoy studying chemistry. So here we are to tell you that there's a lot of career opportunities that you can explore if you want to pursue a career in chemistry. Similarly for mathematics, again, a very similar sort of salary range, but you can work and career opportunities in mathematics, there are plenty. You can work in actuarial science, data science, you can work even in banking and finance. And within those companies, you can be either doing market research, you can be running significant statistical model, you can do numerical analysis, you can become a financial analyst. And some of the really good colleges for mathematics, Indian Statistical Institute, which is really, really very strong in mathematics, particularly with a statistical background. All the IITs, they provide really good undergrad degree in mathematics. Institute of Mathematical Sciences, St. Stephen's College, and DTU are also really good colleges for mathematics. So the intent here through this session is to give you, as I keep saying, the the option of thinking broader than the usual career options that you have. But what you should be doing is you should be now following your passion. You should be realizing that if this is my passion, if this is what I really want to do, then I want to take this to the next level. I want to have a career in mathematics. I really enjoy mathematics. I love running models. I love running financial analysis. I can see myself developing predictive models, right? So when does it rain? What would happen to the share price of a particular stock? What happens when, for example, you have the world is suffering through pandemic now? As you can, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's so many mathematical models that are going around. When will the peak happen? When will the second wave happen? So you can understand what significant career opportunities exist for people who are interested in mathematics. Statistics, which is an extension of mathematics, again, a really, really strong career choice. This is probably more suited for people who enjoy working with graphs and hypothesis and developing and proving pattern recognition. And the kind of jobs that you could be working would be within banking and insurance, investment, because as you can see, like an investment company wants to increase or provide more opportunities for people to come in and invest. So they need to go and tell others how good their investment portfolio is, how good the company has been investing. So they need to have statistical models or mathematical models, financial models, economical models, predictive models. Data science is a really interesting field. As I mentioned, as you can see, you can get into data science from statistical background, from math background, public health and policy, again, anything that's got prediction, right? I mean, how much money should the government keep aside for public health? They need to have a model that runs through that. And you can work through very similar to mathematics degree, but more on the data side, more on the modeling side, but as a market researcher, data analyst, social scientist, algorithm designer. So people with a statistical background also can move into a coding career or a programming career or a software engineer. So some top colleges, the ISI, as we've mentioned before, really, really strong college, not just for math, but also for statistics. Hindu College, Lady Sri Ram College, St. Xavier's colleges are really good. Some of the IITs are also pretty strong. And St. Xavier's College from Calcutta is a really strong college for statistics. Now, there are students who also do math and stats together. So they have a career in, they love doing mathematics and they love doing statistics. The difference, fundamental difference between having a career in mathematics and statistics is that having a career in statistics is a lot more narrow, and you would be working with models and formulas and Excel and numerical analysis. Whereas when you're working with mathematics, you could actually be working broader by having a career in mathematics and economics, or having a career in mathematics and computer science. So having a career in mathematics is slightly bigger and slightly broader, and you don't have to have a career in statistics, but statistics is more narrower. And in my personal opinion, having a career in statistics and becoming a data scientist, for example, is a very strong pathway and a very common pathway that we're already seeing a lot of students taking, particularly those who are more inclined towards, oh, I like math and stats, I kind of like physics, but I don't really like chemistry, for those kind of people. Now, obviously, there's another pathway for people who love chemistry, which is what we've covered. But for people who don't like chemistry within that combination of PCM, you can actually get into a career within math and stats. Now, through the session, I'm also observing some of you raising your hands. So if you do have a question, please type it in the chat window, because there's a lot to cover and I don't want to slow down. So if you wouldn't mind just putting it to the chat window and sending it either to Shujoy or to myself, and we'll make sure that we cover them at the end of the session. Career in aviation. The way the world is going right now, a lot of flights are not functioning anymore. A lot of companies which are of the likes of Air India and Lufthansa and Virgin Australia or Qantas or Etihad Airways, they're all undergoing massive reduction of workforce. But that doesn't mean that the career opportunities in aviation is going away anytime, because flights are here to stay. People will be flying again, whether that takes 6 months or 9 months or a year. And a career as a commercial pilot, it's a very lucrative one, because there's the travel aspect. So you can go and travel on regional or international airlines, or you can fly cargo planes. So you can go to a rural part of the world and fly in cargo from there, or you can work as a corporate pilot to fly corporate jets. So corporate jets, unlike a commercial jet, is an airline where one of you is unmuted. Okay, that's better. So it allows certain companies to fly planes from point A to point B. You can also, in addition to becoming a pilot, you can also become an aircraft maintenance engineer. And there are many opportunities with major airlines where you can work as an aircraft maintenance engineer. So now within aviation, you can also get into engineering and aviation engineering. There are some unique opportunities that exist from after pursuing a career in aviation, where you can work in aviation and then you can move into a company, into a large company like Reliance or TCS, and you can be a head of operations, because you'll be learning to run the operations of a really significant airline, even as a pilot. And therefore the options within aviation is not just relevant initially, but it can increase 5 years, 6 years after you've been a pilot. Some really good colleges for aviation: Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Academy, Rajiv Gandhi Academy of Aviation Technology, Bombay Flying Club, Indian Institute of Aeronautics, which is actually a really, really good university for people who want to become a pilot. Now, we've been running these sessions over the last 2 months, and there's quite a few students that we talk to through these sessions, either during the session or after the session on a one-on-one basis. And that is where we deal with individual requirements, right? So they say that, okay, I want to be a pilot, but I don't want to do this. What can I do? Now, this session is obviously not to answer all those corner cases. This is mainly to give you the information and the opportunity for you to broaden your mind, so you now know what the different options are. Ethical hacking is a really interesting career. Organizations are investing significantly in hiring graduates with an ethical hacking background. This is not a degree that you can just go out and get. You can't get a bachelor's of ethical hacking, but you can do a lot of certification courses in addition to your graduate degree. And this doesn't require you to study computer science. You can actually be studying social sciences, or you could be studying physics, or you could be studying chemistry. But still, because you're interested in ethical hacking, you can pursue any other certificates. And once you do that and you've got some experience, you can really make a good career within ethical hacking. As an ethical hacker, you can work as a network security engineer, network security administrator, security consultant. And there are some certification bodies that we've provided here where you can go in and get some certificates. Indian School of Ethical Hacking, NIIT Ethical Hacking. There's another really interesting one, which I personally know someone who's gone there and done ethical hacking course, is the Arizona Infotech. And that's really interesting program, because you get hands-on experience with how do you actually become a hacker? How do you break security systems? How do you move from one point of having a really secure environment and a company that takes data security very seriously, to the point where you can now break their system. So you don't really need to be very good with computer science. It helps if you have a computer science background, but it's by no means it's an absolute necessity. There are a lot of people who are getting into ethical hacking just because they'll enjoy the challenge of the live challenge of being able to break into live computer systems or security of companies. Your salary generally ranges from 5 lakhs to 8 lakhs, sometimes 10 lakhs. But in addition to the salary package that you have, you also have to remember that this is a field where there's a lot of long-term potential, because this field became important about 10, 12, 15 years back, but gradually has been increasing in importance. But right now it is very, very well regarded as a career where you can take whatever you're learning through ethical hacking and through some years of experience, you can combine all of that and become a really niche and well-known ethical hacker. Once you get into that point where it's almost like you have a brand for yourself. It's almost like people know who you are. And the more of that happens, the more of these unique projects that you pick up as an ethical hacker, almost like a subcontractor. You don't even have to go and work for a company. You can do it on your own. But if you do this is like a life project, right? I mean, every company has a security system. If you are good in ethical hacking, you'll know how to break through that system. So these are really, really interesting career opportunities. And eh, obviously having, as I said, as I keep saying, having a career background where you've done some computer science, you've done some programming helps, but it's not always necessary, because you'll be picking up and you'll be learning through the certification courses. So a lot of people do this as a hobby and then they pick it up. Forensic science, how important is that? There are very, very strong careers that are coming out of forensic science. What happens within forensic science is that you go in and you can perform forensic analysis. You can become a crime scene investigator. You can become a digital forensics expert. You can become a polygraph examiner. And all of these studies are actually quite lucrative. I mean, a lot of people do not realize this, but studying or picking up a career in forensic science is no longer considered to be a government job. There are private investigators and there are private investigating firms who also hire forensic science. Some of the universities where you can study forensic science, and there's an asterisk there, because forensic science sometimes is only offered at a postgraduate level, because you need to have a certain level of maturity before you can understand how to use forensic science. But some of the universities are Delhi University, Punjab University, National Institute of Criminology and Forensic Science, University of Madras, Osmania University. These are universities which are really well known for forensic science. So if you are interested in having a career where you're solving problems, or you're trying to find a needle in a haystack, or you're trying to help resolve large-scale crimes, then having a career in forensic science is a really, really good option. It's not for everyone, but for people who enjoy it, and you can have a career in forensic science just based on having studied physics, chemistry, maths. Computer applications and IT, again, really very prominent career pathway. You can both work you can work at both Indian and in global organizations like Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, TCS, Wipro, Infosys. And you can do that as a programmer, network administrator, database administrator. You can become like a business analyst or a systems analyst, web designer. So this is, again, for people who are really good and enjoy computers, who like to write lines and lines of codes, who enjoy making a dumb machine perform intelligent operations. Really good career pathway for them. Now, you can do computer science as an engineering pathway. So you can do a bachelor's of engineering in computer science, or you can do a computer applications and IT bachelor's degree. Now, some of the universities that provide it as a bachelor's degree itself, so maybe a BCA degree or a Bachelor of Science in IT degree, would be Christ University, St. Xavier's College, really good, Symbiosis Institute of Computer Studies, Madras Christian College. These are all very well-renowned Indian universities and colleges where you can study a BCA kind of degree. So not the computer science engineering degree, but more like a BCA or a BSc in IT degree. If you're keen in computer science, but you don't necessarily want to study an engineering degree, this could be another really good option for you. So the difference between this degree, a BSc degree, and a Bachelor of Engineering degree is that a BSc degree is generally a 3-year program. An engineering is a 4-year program. In an engineering degree, you learn a lot more in addition to computer science. Like you'll be having a first year where you'll have to do a little bit of physics, a little bit of maths. Then you'll be studying a little bit of business and how computer science can be applied within business. And if it's a BSc in IT degree, it's a very dedicated degree. You just study what you want to do within computer science. Do you want to write a program? Do you want to go and solve, get requirements, right? So a business comes to you and says, okay, I want to write a program which works like an ATM, like a cash machine, ATM machine. And you go, okay, well, tell me a bit more about it. How does this work? Where do you get that information from? Who do you go and talk to? You gather all that information and then you work with the programmers. And that kind of work is known as a systems analyst or a business analyst. A web designer is someone who will come in and build a nice looking website. An app developer, all of us have a smartphone. So, you need to build apps. So how do you build apps for that? Really lucrative career option, really, really strong opportunity for someone who who is analytically minded, who gets a lot of pleasure of problem solving out of using or writing algorithms, a very structured thinking. Also, you need to have a very strong vision. You need to have good logical thinking. You can't just solve any problem the way you want to. So for people of that background or that inclination, a BSc and an IT is a really good career option. Another one that I wanted to bring up was animation and graphics, because this is also becoming a very common career pathway. So you can, how there are software games, and there's animation, and there's graphic design, there's web design, you can do 3D modeling. Some of them you can also do, just like what we've been looking at in the previous few slides about ethical hacking. You can also do this through certifications. You don't necessarily need a degree, but if you have a degree, then the career options are that much better. So there's some institutes where you can go and study animation and graphics. National Institute of Design, Indian Institute of Digital Arts, for example, Birla Institute of Technology, Maya Academy of Advanced Cinematics, and then you can have a career within the film, theater, movies, creative arts, or you can have a career in designing web-based applications, games, something that makes it look pretty, something where you have a natural flair of articulating your ideas into something which is really, really pretty, nice, helpful. So people who are still studying PCM, who enjoy the rigor of the sciences, who enjoy the structured thinking and the problem solving that you get with the PCM degree, but who are inclined mentally towards the art science. So a good balance between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. This is a very natural, good career path for them, where you can still continue within animation and graphics, where you can still continue within a PCM career. So you can still write programs, you can still design models, you can still write formula, but at the same time, you can use your creativity to come up with something that looks nice, something that the other consumers, like imagine any computer video game, like all the video games, they have to look brilliant. It's not just about someone riding a car. It's not just about turning the car to the left. It's all the effects that come with it. And that's where your career opportunity is really, really strong. The average starting salary is slightly lower for these kind of careers. But having said that, once you've been in animation and graphics, the top of the pyramid, as you progress in your career and you get more and more and more senior, as you get towards the top of your career pathway, so as you get into a director level, there's quite a few really good companies, both Indian and international, where you can have a fantastic career with this. And at that point, your salary jump is going to be 3 times or 4 times. So initially you start off low because it's quite easy to complete this career. Therefore, there's not a lot of competition. But as you move up, there's a lot of competition. As you move up, the competition fades away because not a lot of people can continue doing this. So this is a career that I really wanted to strongly encourage all of you to think about if you wanted to use both the left and the right side of your brain. Physical science, another really interesting career. Generally speaking, this is more research oriented. You can pick up a course or a subfield within physical sciences, like astronomy, like geology, like map design, meteorology. And what this does is this allows you to work within physical sciences, which is essentially a study of the physical dimensions of science. So you can, if you're studying in astronomy, you can study within astrochemistry, astrobiology. So basically, what all this means is, the study of how stars interact with one another. What's the biological impact of that? How is the combination of meteors and stars? How do they work together hand in hand? If you, on the other hand, if you pick up a career in geology, then you can work within marine geology. You can work within seismology. You can work within mineralogy. As you can see, there's so many different options that have now come up. They all require you to have a PCM degree. But after you have a PCM degree, or some combination of physics and or chemistry, but generally with maths as a common ground, but then you can pick up any of these different subfields that you can then become really strong in, really good in. You can dedicate your career for that. Cartographer is another really, really interesting pathway that a lot of people are now getting quite excited about, because what it does is it's a study of maps. So think about Google Maps, think about GPS, think about how much progress there's been made in relation to maps, studying, helping people to go from one point to another point. Digital cartography is combination of understanding of maps and putting it onto a digital platform. Town planning, construction companies, disaster management professionals, right? So when there's a volcano, when there's an earthquake, when there's any kind of disaster on a large scale, they require people who have a very good understanding of maps to be able to help them and plan where do they go and how do they prevent this from happening in the future. How do they provide relief immediately? So as the world becomes more and more unstable, all these different career options, which used to be previously, you could only do these careers if you had significant experience, you're now able to do a lot of these just by applying your passion for physics, chemistry, math, just applying your overarching view and belief that this is what I want to do. I really enjoy physics, chemistry, maths, but I don't want to be an engineer. You don't have to. I don't want to be a computer science person. You don't have to. There's all these different career choices that open up. It's all about your passion. What is it that really gets you up in the middle of the night? What is it that you are so passionately involved? What do you think you want to do with your life? I've given you some top colleges for physical sciences based on astronomy, geology, cartography, and disaster management. And these are all very specific colleges, as you'll see. Apart from the IITs, most of them are dedicated colleges. So Indian Institute of Astrophysics being one, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, another one. Geology, IITs, most of the IITs are really strong with that. Cartography, again, IITs are strong with that. Disaster management, this is one that I think you should consider if you are really interested in working in disaster management. The Tata Institute of Social Sciences, or TISS, and National Institute of Disaster Management. These are two very, very strong schools where a career in disaster management will actually get you to a very top-notch career, something that will give you not just satisfaction, not just a recognition, not just being able to actually give back to the society. As we are evolving as human beings, we are learning to how to connect with people, what the community feeling is, how do we provide back to the society. Disaster management is a fantastic way where you'll be able to tick the boxes of working in PCM, getting a very good salary for this, studying something that has benefits beyond just satisfying your own personal needs, and actually being able to provide back to the society. So another strong career that I think. So as an overview, these are the things that we've covered so far. Some of them we've gone into more details than others. You can become an engineer, or you can use physics. You can have a career in chemistry or pure maths. You can have a career in statistics or a combination of math and statistics. You can have a career in aviation, ethical hacking, and merchant navy, which we did not necessarily go through in more detail. And the reason why we did not go through merchant navy was because they have a very distinct set of characteristics that they require for people to get in and pursue a career there. But as you can see, it's no longer just, I mean, if you have a look at this, there's about 35 to 40 different career opportunities that exist. So if you like PCM and you're struggling to think, should I do a career in engineering? We are here to tell you, no, you don't. There's many, many different career options that exist, depending on who you are, what your motivation points are, what your passion is, and what gets you up and what pushes you towards the next level. So this is a sort of like a menu of all the different career options you have. You, depending on which one you want to do and which one you think you'll be good at, there are different pathways after year 9, year 10, year 11 and 12, and then your undergrad degree. Some of them might not require a degree, as we've seen so far. So there's all these different pathways that you can take depending on which one is more exciting to you. But just to wrap it up, you've got industrial design, you've got forensic science, we've covered computer applications and IT. Fashion technology is another one that's becoming more and more important in recent times. And the reason why it's becoming more important is because fashion technology is no longer about just designing fashion. It's about helping retail outlets, right? So you think about Spencer's, you need to work out, how do I make Spencer's look pretty? How do I order enough clothes for me to put up on any of these retail outlets? There's stylists now. Anybody, it's no longer just the politicians and the celebrities who need to go out and interview. So there's stylists, and there's people who help you look good, people who help you, who train you what to say, how to say. There's a big career around that as well. And again, that you require an understanding of PCM, because you'll be studying an aspect of technology as you do that. Defense is a very strong career pathway as well for a lot of people who are interested in serving the nation. Animation and graphics we've covered, physical science we've covered, and architecture we've touched upon at the beginning, where we said there's urban planning, urban designer, landscape architect. Again, there's about 35 on this slide. So there's a total of 70 different career options that you have. I'm not sure if all of you were aware of these many different career options, and it's obviously not possible to go through each one of them and talk about the pathway for each one of them. We'll be releasing our this slide and this presentation on our YouTube channel, so you can go and visit that, and we'll be sending you our phone numbers and email addresses. If there's anyone who wants to talk more about what their particular career options are and what drives them, we're more than happy to have a chat. All right, so I think we're doing good for time. We now wanted to talk a little bit about how you can use your PCM degree for a career abroad. So for students who are looking for global programs, right? So by that, I mean, you want to go to the US, you want to come to Australia, you want to work in Canada, Singapore, then there's a lot of different career options that you have based on what angle that you take, right? So when you're going abroad to study, there's a slightly different way of thinking. So the first one that I want to talk about would be pure sciences. So pure sciences are for students who don't want to study what is known as natural sciences. So natural sciences is your chemistry, biology, physics, generally like a BSc degree. But pure sciences is a really strong career pathway, is a really popular career pathway. So these courses generally in the US, they're very, very popular, particularly for Indian undergraduate students, and they have immense research output and practical exposure. So these are science degrees where you can go in and study a course in science, but there'll be internships, there'll be real life experience, there'll be lecturers coming in from the industry. So there'll be like a fully immersive course. Now, this is not just within the US. So although we've mentioned US, these courses are exactly the same whether you go to the US, Canada, Singapore, Australia, and anywhere else where they have international students, because the way in which they study their undergrad is a lot different. So I've given you some examples of what some of the top universities in the world look for. You've got your MIT, Stanford's, Harvard's. Generally, they're like between $48,000 and $50,000. Now, these numbers change, also depend on what course you're going for, but this gives you a broad overview of what is it that they look for. They need what is known as an SAT exam, which is essentially testing you on your verbal and quant skills. And then they also need a TOEFL exam, which requires you to be really good with spoken English and written English and hearing and listening. So there's all these different aspects within English language that gets tested in TOEFL. Some of the good popular career choices that we've seen in our experience are things like Bachelor of Biology from Caltech, Bachelor of Science, Stanford University, BSc in Biochemical Chemistry from University of Chicago, BSc in Chemistry from Johns Hopkins. Now, Johns Hopkins University is really strong with its chemistry, biology, medical programs. So any kind of undergrad degree or postgrad degree that you can do from Johns Hopkins University will be very well regarded. Now, it's not necessary that you go and stay over there after you finish your degree, but that's what most students do, because that's where they get really good bang for their buck. So after they conclude the degree, they get a really good job there, which allows them to extend their knowledge and get into more real life experience. In addition to that, you can also do an engineering degree. And again, as you can see, we've focused on the US, but trust me, this is the same concept applies everywhere else. STEM studies are one of the most popular courses within the US, and within STEM, recently there's now been an optional practical training period which has been introduced and now has been increased. So there's a training period for people who are, for students who are going in and studying engineering within the US universities. Again, I've given you some some of the top universities within the US where you can study engineering. And the more popular ones are mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and from these universities. Structural engineering is also another really important thing to remember, because structural engineering within the US is kind of a combination of mechanical and civil that you do. You do not have structural engineering as a very common program within India, but the moment you go overseas or international, structural engineering is a very, very common program. If you are more interested in computer science, so not necessarily an engineering degree, but just a computer science, so similar to your BSc in IT or BCA degree, then you can also study just computer science. The universities that you see out here, they're all very, very popular and have been there for, I'm going to say like 150 years. MIT, Stanford, Harvard, Caltech, Chicago, Princeton, UPenn, Yale, Michigan, Ann Arbor, Johns Hopkins. These are the top 10 universities in the US for computer science. There are some other universities in the US as well. And they are all very research focused. So kind of the difference between studying in India and studying internationally, particularly with computer science, is in India, you'll be studying a lot of different things within computer science, but they'll not necessarily be about programming or database. It'll be a combination of a lot of different things. Whereas in the US, after the first year, you can pretty much pick up your selections and go really narrow and really deep into what is it that you want to study. And again, not just the US. When I say US, I'm talking about international programs. The second big difference that you have with an international program versus an Indian program, and by that I mean an undergrad program or a bachelor's degree, is when you go to the US to study, then you will have an option of studying for a course which has a business application, which has a real world application. So you'll be doing lots of research, lab work, internship, practical applications in an international program than you would do in India. In India, you also have internships and all, but they're a lot more theoretical based than they're practical based. And that is the reason why the international programs are so much more popular, because that allows you a great pathway into what is it exactly that you want to do. Like you enjoy writing programs, right? But in what do you want to be a good programmer in a particular subject, in a particular language, or do you want to be a great programmer in solving a problem for finance, or solving a problem for medicine, or solving a problem for civil engineering, or becoming a modeler and you design financial models or mathematical models or numerical models. So depending on all of those different combinations, even within computer science, in an international program, you'll get the option to go really deep, along with having access to international and practical work experience while you're studying, which is really hard to do within India, unless you're going and studying from the IITs and looking at really difficult programs to get in, and then that's fine. That could be like for the 20 universities within India, but for the broad majority of them, the study here would be really broad and not necessarily as much industry experience as it would be in the US. We're coming to the end of our session, so we'll open up for questions, but some very brief explanations probably, or just some figures. As you can see, the university's fees range strongly between or among the different states. So California is probably a lot more expensive. Massachusetts is expensive as well, whereas Florida and Georgia, not so much. There's also a concept within the US called public universities versus private universities. Public universities are owned by the government, and therefore they're a lot cheaper. Private universities are there to make money, and therefore private universities are generally more expensive. anywhere between 50% to 200% of how much it costs within public universities. And that's all. So I will stop sharing and I will open it up for any questions that you might have. So thank you so much for attending. Hopefully you got something from here and you learned a little bit from our sessions, and we'll open it up for questions. So Shuja, how do you want to do this? Do we want to go through each of the chat questions, or do we open it up?
Yeah, so there was one question Harshjeet had asked regarding programming languages that you need to know for like this computer science programs, like basically. So I had replied to that on the chat itself in ethical
Oh, yeah.
hacking, that is. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think
So yeah,
that's
so there
one
are,
question. Yeah.
absolutely. So there are programming skills that you need to know when you're doing ethical hacking as a career, without a doubt. But at the same time, you also need to be aware that there's a different way of thinking, and the skills that you learn are not just computer programming. The skills that you learn are what is ethical hacking. Like the word itself tells you that you can't just go in and hack any website. There's an ethical way of doing it. There's a right way of doing it. So when we talk about ethical hacking, in addition to the different courses and the different programming languages that you learn, that's a very small portion of ethical hacking. What you actually learn within that course is what is responsible way of getting into a website. What can you search for? What can you not search for? Because you can actually get into trouble if you go into different websites and try searching for various different things. So as you will see, as you get closer to your year 12, and then subsequently when you finish your undergrad, that when you go in and actually try and start working in in a business, it's not so much the technical skills that you need, it's the soft skills that you need. It's the broader understanding and appreciation of how businesses operate. We've been dealing with many students for a long time, and we keep telling students that don't think about a career as whether you enjoy programming. That's one part of it. The other part of it is, what do you want to work? Where do you want to work in? Do you want to work in, let's say, a bank, or do you want to work in a large telecommunication company? That is equally important, if not more. All right, so I think there's another question there. Can you tell me something for joining the army or for the defense forces? So most of the army defense forces requirement, as in joining them after your year 12, they have very specific requirements, and they generally include appearing for a competitive exam, and that includes both mental and physical um, level. So you'll be competing at a mental level, as in intellectual level, and then you'll also be competing at a physical level. So you'll be required to run certain number of kilometers, you'll be required to swim certain number of laps, and after that there'll be a proper interview, and then you will, depending on your performance and your aspirations, you can select whether you want to work for the army, the navy, or the air forces. So main thing, but be careful that you need to have really strong grades, particularly from the school that you're in. I'm pretty sure you're getting good advice on that, but make sure that your grades are good, particularly around physics, chemistry, maths, and English. So these 4 subjects, grades are equally important when you, in addition to your competitive exam. Shreyas has asked another question. What are the career options in IT with chemistry? There's quite a few. So when you say IT and chemistry, you've got to realize that whenever you have 2 particular courses that you want to mix together, there's one main course, and then there's another which is an additional course. So IT and chemistry, your chemistry is your main course, and your IT or computer science is in addition to that. So any career that you can think of within chemistry in today's world requires IT, right? So whether you want to work in a pharmacy as a pharmacist, whether you want to work in research, whether you want to work in any kind of, like vaccination. There's a massive career right now around IT and chemistry. There's a little bit of biology as well, but it's such a big team that there are people of different backgrounds who come together, right? So if you think about a vaccine team, or a team that's preparing a vaccine for COVID-19, there'll be about 20, 30 different people. Some of them will have a chemistry background because they need to understand what chemicals to mix together. Some of them will have a biology background because they need to understand what the impact of those chemicals will be on individuals. But a lot of them will have a combined degree in IT or technology or computer science because they need to, you can't simulate 5,000 scenarios without using computer. So you need to know how to use computer, how to run programs, how to use a software, how to create reports, so that you can then combine that with your knowledge of chemistry to come up with a really good, robust testing regime by which you can try and test different combinations of vaccines. Did that help? Okay, perfect. Any other questions? So I'll give out my mobile number on the WhatsApp chat. And if you do have any questions, please let us know. I'll also give out my email address. So if you guys wanted to have further conversations, we're more than happy to do it. We run these kind of sessions all the time. We run a session. If you go onto our website, and Shujoy, maybe you can just point them to where the link on our website where they can go and register for any of the future sessions, and let us know if you want to come in and have a discussion with us, with your parents. We're also happy to do that. We sit down with parents all the time and we say, well, talk to us about what your background is. We run these kind of 15-minute session one-on-one. And that way it'll be really easy for you to hopefully make a career choice that makes sense for you. There was also a really quick question that came up. What's the salary for annual salary for an engineer? Look, it depends a lot, and it depends where you've done your engineering from. If you do your engineering from the IITs or the NIT, then you obviously have a great opportunity to not just earn a lot more money, but also to work in international or national organizations, which are really hard to get into. So having studied from an IIT, you can work in Google, Facebook, which is not that easy if you do not study from one of the IITs or the NITs. Hopefully that was helpful. We've got 4 minutes time, so we don't want to waste anyone's time. Unless there's any other questions, we will wrap it up now. We'll have the recording available very soon. So if you wanted to just get in touch with us, let us know, come in and have a chat with your parents. We're more than happy to do that. Otherwise, all of you have a fantastic rest of the Sunday, and we'll see you soon. See ya. Bye.
Bye, sir.
See ya.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.